Why is there a shuttlecock? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. Good evening, councillors, officers, honoured guests. Welcome to the annual general meeting of Pendle Borough Council. As it's a new council and a new constitution, the order on your pink sheets is changed very slightly to accommodate a couple of legal niceties, I suppose is the best way of describing it. However, it's generally correct. First item on the agenda this evening is to elect a new mayor for the borough, and therefore can I call on Councillor Sarah Coburn-Price to propose the motion that Councillor Neil Butterworth do hereby elected mayor of the borough for the municipal year 21-22. Councillor Coburn-Price.
The mayoralty has long been Neil's ambition, and he has had to wait a long time, owing to serving a double stint as deputy mayor during the COVID pandemic, while our retiring mayor, Ken Hartley, was forced to double his term at a very difficult time for the council and its residents. As deputy mayor, Neil made visits to vulnerable people's homes and special homes, and has operated troops of performers to do the rounds to entertain the residents. Neil is proud to be Pendle Council's Armed Forces champion and is himself a veteran. He is a stalwart of Code Veterans Breakfast Club and is in contact with other local groups of ex-servicemen and women, such as the Legion, in order to offer them support, most especially in the sphere of mental health. He told me recently that he's never turned off his phone for fear of missing a call from someone in need. He accepts that calls, and indeed call-outs, in the wee small hours, goes with this mantle that he has chosen to don. Neil makes lively contributions to Code Area Committee, most especially when he is describing relatively hotspots. His concern for Code residents has led him to go to the same collection of needs, and now he is so well known for providing swift service that any social media post with this theme will instantly tag him in, shortly followed by the confirmation that Neil has dealt with it. On this council, Neil has served as chairman of the Taxi Licensing Committee, a role he took very seriously, to the extent he made the effort to learn a smattering of Urdu. Away from the Borough Council, Neil has served as chairman of the Code Town Council Events Committee. He has also spent many years as part of a tiny team that mounts the day-long Code Gala, which encompasses a parade, a fair, and numerous entertainments, including the famous in Code, Code's Got Talent. Organising and running the gala each year, which raises money for some great local charities, appears to be a thankless task and definitely leads to masses of work and stress. Yet Neil appears to thrive off it all, the more the better seemingly. During the first national lockdown, Neil was a key member of the Musketeers, providing washable face masks to care home staff. He was also instrumental in helping to source visors, gloves, and other essential PPE for the local healthcare workers. If that was not enough, he turned himself into an errand boy for numerous elderly residents, doing their shopping and basically filling all his waking hours and more. Today is a wonderful day of celebration for Neil, his family, and his friends, but it is also a bittersweet day. At the very outset of his mayoral journey, he was looking forward to be sitting in the council chamber with his fiancée, the late T. But very sadly, this was not to be. I have no doubt that the work he will undertake over the year will be in her memory. I hope this is a positive, happy, even joyous year for Pendle and for our new mayor himself, Councillor Neil Butterworth. I move this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Coburn-Price. To second the motion, can I call on Councillor Dorothy Lord?
I'll second that.
Thank you very much indeed. And the supporter, Councillor Hanif.
Mr. Mayor, I support it as well.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hanif. Councillor Butterworth. Can I call on you? Doesn't actually say here, but actually I think we've got to take a vote. The agenda doesn't specify it, but can I ask Council then to vote on the motion as proposed by Councillor Coburn-Price that Councillor Neil Butterworth be hereby elected the Mayor of the Borough for the municipal year 21-22. Those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. Those against the motion? Unanimous vote. Thank you very much, Council. Councillor Butterworth, please.
Should have waited for my message. Yeah, if you, when you get that, if you read that out, and then say, okay, do apologise, I'm a little bit blank.
I, Neil Butterworth, having been elected to the office of Mayor, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it accordingly to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of members of the Pendle Borough Council. Please bear with me. I was only given this speech the other day, so please bear with me. I've served 8 tours of Northern Ireland and never been as nervous, so please bear with me. Distinguished guests, eldermen, council officers, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to you all and thank you for joining me on this special evening. I would like to start by expressing my personal thanks to the retiring Mayor and Mayoress, Ken Hartley and Jane Mills. Thank you. They had a very busy and successful year in their first memorial year. They have just kindly and flexibly completed a second mayoral year. Ken demonstrated his ability to adapt and innovate in his second year by giving an online business talk to higher education students at Nelson and Corn College. This was to help the students complete their research on the economic impact of the COVID pandemic on local businesses. Ken caught the COVID himself in June last year. He kindly agreed to feature in the local press to discuss his experiences. He enforced the messages about getting tested and regular hand washing. More recently, on behalf of the people of Pendle, he attended a special memorial service for the late Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh at Blackburn Cathedral. Prince Philip was an outstanding consort to Her Majesty the Queen over so many decades. Thank you to Sarah Coburn-Price, Dorothy Lord and Mohammed Hanif, who kindly moved, seconded and supported the motion to restore me as Mayor. I would like to congratulate the councillors that were re-elected to this council during the elections on the 6th of May. I would like to recognise and thank those councillors who have stood down from this council. I also welcome the new councillors. Thank you in anticipation to the new Deputy Mayor and Deputy Mayoress, Councillor Saib and wife Mrs. Gulnaz Dar, his daughter Miss Nasefa Dar. I'm sure we'll be able to work together. I know I will be able to rely on my experienced memorial team. Fiona, my secretary, and Trish, my attendant guide throughout the year. Taking on the role of first citizen fills me with great excitement and pride. I am looking forward to highlighting the organisations which are doing a fantastic job in the Pendle community. I am delighted that Victoria Fletcher has agreed to be my mayoress. I know I'll have a very good year. This year, the Mayoress's charity appeal funds will be supporting blood banks and 2 others I have yet to nominate. I hope you will give your full support to the Mayoress's events this year. This will help raise awareness and promote the volunteering and raise charity funds. I have done a lot of volunteering myself, particularly with the elderly and the young people. Recovery from the pandemic, in particular the development of economic recovery and development strategy, will be key by the Council during my memorial term. Looking forward, I need to mention the completion of North Light, which will be mixed use of leisure, employment, residential and Lancashire adult learning. There is a prospect of a town deal for Nelson, which will transform the town. The development of master plans for the town centres can be based off future funding bids. Delivery of the new housing on Pearl sites, such as Langroyd, Greenfield View, Harrison Drive and the former health centre in Colne. Delivery of further new housing at further Clough Head. Delivery of new employment spaces is on phase 1 of the Lobbyshire Industrial Estate. There will be a renewed focus on measures to adapt to climate change. This leads me on to the UK-wide tree planting initiative called the Queen's Green Canopy. This has been created to mark Her Majesty's Platinum Jubilee in 2022 by inviting people to plant a tree for the Jubilee. From October 2021, when the tree planting session begins. Throughout the year of Jubilee in the 2022, with a focus on planting sustainably trees, the Queen's Green Canopy will encourage the planting of trees to create a legacy in honour of the Queen's leadership of the nation, which will benefit future generations. During my mayoral term, on the Sunday the 6th of February 2022, I will be at the 70th anniversary of the Queen's accession. The Mayoress and I look forward to a varied and constructive year. I am committed to engaging the people of Pendle in the work for the Pendle Council and the office of Mayor. Thank you. That's the speech done. It's a very quick speech from me. I wouldn't be stood here today if it weren't for a certain lady. So everything I do will be in her honour. I want to thank the people that got me as well. Joanne Seger-Roach, Graham Roach, who helped me in my darkest days. My best friend Tracy, bless her, and all the other people that have been involved in my life. Thanks to them, I am stood before you, and loyally I serve. Thank you. On this one. My apologies, I'm new at this. Can I call on Councillor Nadine Ahmed to move the minutes of the last meeting?
First of all, congratulations on your appointment. I'm sure you'll have a wonderful year. I think your enthusiasm and looking forward to this position so much. I'm sure you do a wonderful job in the Mayoress. I wish you all the very best. And I take the opportunity of moving the minutes.
I second that motion. Can we have a show of hands, a vote please? All in favour? Thank you. So we know. Item 3. A vote of thanks to the retiring Mayor. Can I call on Councillor David Whip?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I extend my congratulations, those of my group, to your elevation to being the first citizen of Pendle. It's in very strange circumstances that we're meeting tonight. I have to put the glasses on to actually able to see you, but I've got some notes in front of me so as to be able to speak to the resolution that I'm moving here. And that's a vote of thanks to the retiring Mayor Ken Hartley and his Mayoress Jane Evans. And my vote of thanks extends not only for their term of office as Mayor and Mayoress of Pendle, but as colleagues on the council for several years. And as in Ken's case, as a colleague in the same ward as myself. As everybody here is aware, Kent's mayoralty was cut short, although it was extended because of the pandemic. Kent never really completed his year of office because I know a lot of the things that he had planned to do never took place. Although Kent has served as mayor for 2 years, he could perhaps only accomplish half of what he aimed to do at the outset. But the pandemic brought with it challenges that Kent rose to with alacrity. We saw the advent of live stream meetings from the full council, such as we have tonight, and the committee meetings as well. And Kent played a very large part as mayor in making sure that those were brought about. We then had the advent of online meetings, where after a short interim, we began meeting in a virtual way. I have to say how much better those virtual meetings are, rather than the very weird layout that we have tonight, where we're virtually shouting across the sports hall with the echoes resounding behind. Most significantly, during Kent's term of office, both he and Jane overcame COVID-19. And I think it's a mark of Kent's and Jane's engagement that after a slight interruption, they resumed the duties that they could continue to undertake as soon as they possibly could. And part of Kent's work in this last year a bit, has been providing facts and figures about COVID-19 to the residents of Pendle. He wasn't alone in doing that, but certainly he regularly alerted people to the trend in terms of transmission and infection, and people generally were very grateful for that information and for that hard evidence of what was happening on the ground. So although Kent's term of office was marred by the pandemic, before that came about, we saw the traditional activities of mayor undertaken with aplomb. I recall with affection the concert, the festival and the musical, which was a departure from the tradition of the mayor's ball, and what an enjoyable evening that was. That was just one of the events that the Mayoral Committee, Ken and Jane, organised in order to raise funds for their charities. And I do know that for the 5 charities receiving 4-figure sums, it's not 4 charities receiving 5-figure sums, but 5 charities receiving 4-figure sums, 2 fire rescue organisations, 2 air ambulances, and the RNLI. I think it's very, very credible indeed that during such a difficult 2 years in office, that fundraising has been able to be carried out. Mr. Mayor, it is with some sadness, but also with some celebration that I move this vote of thanks this evening, both to Ken and And I hope that they will be able to enjoy the forthcoming year free from their encumbrance of office, although obviously we're doing it members of the local town council. That they are able to enjoy themselves as they haven't been enjoying themselves during the past 12 months. Mr. Mayor, I move.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I call on Councillor Iqbal to second the motion?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. First of all, can I congratulate yourself on the inauguration to the first citizens of the borough. You've said that you were nervous. The nervous bit is actually getting there. It's all downhill from now for the rest of the year. But I'm sure you will enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
I wish to congratulate not only for myself but my group as well. And hopefully we will look forward to council meetings in the actual council chamber as opposed to doing venues around the borough at some point during the year. But Mr. Mayor, I want to second and associate with all the comments that Councillor Whittle has made, because Councillor Ben Hartley did for great men to lead the borough. And I think Ken has done certainly in the first year he's going development there. When COVID hit us back in March, I remember picking the phone up to Ken, I think it was around April, May, saying, Ken, Mr. Mayor, how do you fancy doing the second year? And without any hesitation, and I think that's a reflection of Ken and both Jane, in terms of rising up to the responsibility of first citizens, without any hesitation, Ken said, I'm ready for the task. And indeed, he was not this borough proud of Mr. Mayor, because I've had the opportunity to really meet with Ken, and the respect that he's made on the people of Pendle, I think is something that he will carry for the rest of his life, but those people who were privileged to meet him virtually will also carry that for the rest of their life as well. Council has talked about virtual meetings, and I've served as mayor, and full council is quite a cautious affair on there, and that's why being there's very little hair left these days, because we sat in many council meetings. But I think Kenny's presence online calmed people's nerves and made sure that we had a lively and respectful debate, and I think that is again testament to the way that I'm sad not to have Ken Taylor in the council together as a voice of reason. On many occasions, we will miss Ken and be involved in the council chamber and turning your role. But Ken, on behalf of the people of Pendle, on behalf of my group, thank you very much for your successful schools.
Thank you, Councillor. May I call on Councillor Goldthorpe to support the motion, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations on your appointment. Greatly deserved. It's fantastic to be able to second with support rather the motion of the both thanks to both Ken and Jane. Ken's approach to local politics has always been one of honesty and balance, and I think that has stood it well in the last 2 years of extended position of mayor and mayoress. His first citizen of Pendle, as we've already heard, is also created a few firsts. The first mayor to possibly have 2 terms, one after each other. The first mayor certainly to be chairing a virtual council meeting, and without doubt, hopefully the last one to do this, the first mayor to preside over a council in the local pandemic. So, I will miss Ken, and I'm sure the whole of the council will miss him. We'll certainly miss him in the West Trading Area Committee, where his approach and his regular cigarette breaks are always enjoyed. So, I wish him well. I hope he enjoyed his meeting at the time, and I'm very pleasure in supporting his motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Can I have a show of hands? All in favour? Thank you. Motion that the best of thanks of the Council be hereby tendered to Ken Hartley and Jane Mills for their service as Mayor and Mayoress during their term of office. Thank you. May I call on Ken Hartley and Jane Mills, please?
They have their
They have them. My apologies. Normally they would present them with the medals, but they already have them. Thank you very much, Ken, and thank you for your advice throughout the 2 years as deputy. And would you like to make your speech now, sir?
It took a common historian to tell me that I was the 45th mayor, and therefore you must be the 46th mayor of this borough. When I was told that I was going to be the 45th, my heart dropped, because that coincided with a regular number with Donald Trump as the 45th President of the United States. So I was a little bit worried at the onset of this that things might be different to what they actually turned out to be. I'd like to thank the councillors who have seconded and supported this motion. And I'd also like personally to thank all the councillors, both present and from the old council, for their support during my term of office as well. And particularly also wish to thank the officers and staff of the council for their generous and constant support as well. Particularly the team from the Mayor's office, Fiona as a secretary, Trish as the principal attendant, but I'd also like to thank Colin and Mick for their contributions, who stood in the breach when Tricia, for whatever reason, was unable to take on the duties of attending the Mayor. It was a busy life at the start of the mayoral team. We managed to survive, I think, just about 300 days in the first year. And in that 300 days, we did 260 mayoral engagements. So the support was almost full-time. It wasn't just the odd time. That's progressed beyond the 360 after that first 300 days. However, I mean, a company I am looking forward to retirement. It was a thoroughly enjoyable time after all there. In terms of thanks, I also want to thank the Speaker of Parliament and Race Holder, Reverend Sheena McMahon, who was my chaplain during the mayoral term, and who gave me sound advice throughout. More my comments on the side rather than you should be doing this. And we had one conversation that I always treasured whenever we sort of got together and I had an input into what was happening within the service. She used to say to me, what readings would you like or whatever? And I said, that is your choice. I need to hear what you want me to hear, not what I want to hear. And she fulfilled that duty with very great clarity. And I found her support from a spiritual point of view quite uplifting. And she deserves all the thanks of the borough as well. Thank the Mayor, Councillor Mills, for really accepting her life, trying to balance a full-time working environment with the Mayoress with a difficult job, and to top that with fundraising and the activities that she's undertaking is a very exciting contribution to what I think was a successful mayoral year. I'm going to leave you effectively with a word of advice for the new mayor in terms of visiting schools. It's a story that I learned unexpectedly to us, the entire school with 300 to 400 pupils were assembled in the hall to receive what we call the Mayor's Roadshow, which is where we took the regalia and the robes and showed them to the students and answered questions about what the Mayor did and what he was and how they were elected. And it didn't take long to realise that during those roadshows Trish used to take the royal regalia around to show the pupils in great detail. Obviously, the questions were usually, is it real gold? The chain, we used to say yes, and they were quite impressed at the thought that the Birkwhistle diamond was bigger than Poppy's engagement ring. And a lot of great things like that, but the lesson to be learned is that when Trish is talking about the Mayor's mace, they were far more interested that it could be used for bashing people's heads in than it was a symbol of royal power. And the real lesson, which I learned very hard, when in one school with about 400 pupils, I used the gavel. And the entire school changed from being meek and mild and attentive and listening to a braying mob who wanted to try it. And of course, when they left the hall, by the time 200 of those children had hit the gavel, you learned never to introduce the gavel to them ever again. So, Mr. Mayor, when you visit the school, leave the gavel behind for your own sanity. It often works that way. And the second little story was, we were visiting another mayor for their Mayoral Sunday, and we'd met this mayor several times before their Mayoral service on Sunday, and I'd been telling this particular mayor about our prize brass bands that we have in Pendle, like Gil Barnes, we can have singing their praises and telling them about the silver band that we have in Nelson, the Colne band, and the Yearly band, and Barnwell's Whip. And we stood outside of the church in West Lancashire when we could hear this brass band in the distance. And the mayoral procession started from some distance away from the church. And when it turned the corner, who should be heading it up with a combination of the Leyland and Fogan's brass bands of immense professional fame and part of the Women's Championship. So be careful how much you brag about Pendle, Mr. Mayor, because there is going to be another mayor somewhere in Lancashire that's going to pull one over on you as well. Mr. Mayor, good luck in your mayoral year. Congratulations on your relegation. And on that point, I'm going to say it's good night for me, good night for Murphy, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Words of wisdom, I will definitely adhere to them. Thank you. Can I call on Councillor Mohammed Iqbal, please, to move the motion, appointment of Deputy Mayor of the Borough.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I have quite a few words to say about the Deputy Mayor next year when he hopefully becomes the Mayor. But I've been privileged to know Saki for over 13 years, and I know you're going to say neither one of us looks over the age of 30, but I've known Saki since he came to this country back in 1987 as a young 16-year-old. And I'll share stories next year, I won't embarrass him this evening. But I'm sure Saki will serve as a good deputy to yourself, Mr. Mann. I hope you both enjoy being here. Clearly this is a happy moment for Saki's family, tinged with a bit of sadness. Sadly, Saki lost two of his brothers due to COVID in the last 6 months. And I know that for a fact his elder brother would have been extremely proud to see Saki nodding the deputy mayor over this evening. But we are where we are, and no doubt he's looking at us from above, smiling at his younger brother becoming the deputy mayor. But I'd like to move the motion as set out.
Thank you. Can I call on Councillor Nadeem Ahmed to second the motion?
For the words of Councillor Iqbal, I'm sure Councillor Saki will be a wonderful deputy for the borough and will be there to assist you as and when required. And congratulations to Councillor Saki and his family. I'll second.
Thank you. Could I call on Councillor Tom Whip to support the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Motion. Can that the council, Councillor Mohammed Saqib be hereby appointed Deputy Mayor of the Borough for the municipal year 2021 to 2022. Can we show of hands, please? Can we vote on it? Thank you. Trish.
I, Mohammed Saqib, having been appointed to the office of Deputy Mayor, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfill the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of members of Pendle Borough Council. Mr. Mayor, I would like to start by congratulating you on your appointment as Mayor of Pendle. I look forward to supporting you as your deputy, and I know we will make a good team over your mayoral term of office, which includes the 70th anniversary of Her Majesty the Queen's accession. Thank you to councillors, Councillor Iqbal, Councillor Nadeem Ahmed, and Councillor Tom Webb, who kindly moved, seconded, and supported the motion to appoint me as Deputy Mayor. I'm grateful to my wife, Gul Nazdar, for agreeing to be my Deputy Mayor. As it is tradition for the Deputy Mayor, I will keep my speech tonight short, so I will finish by saying that we look forward to supporting you, Mr. Mayor, and the Mayors. Thank you.
Thank you. Nadeem too. Could I ask Councillor Nadeem to take the next item, the Mayor's allowance.
Mr. Mayor, I move that an allowance of £5,130 be paid to the Mayor for the purpose of enabling yourself to meet the expenses of the office. I move.
Thank you. Can I call on Councillor Iqbal to second the motion?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favour? Thank you.
10-minute adjournment to allow visitors to leave.
Okay, before I end the Mayor making, I have one more just quick thing to say. I want to thank Linda Crossley personally for helping me to get here where I sit now. So a personal thank you very much. I appreciate it very much. We're now going to have a 10-minute break where we take the photographs of the new Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Thank you for attending, all the visitors. If you'd like to stay, you're welcome. If not, I'd run. And thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much.
Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding to worship the Mayor of Pendle, Councillor Neil Butterworth.
I've got the gin. They're not that much. There's not much in them. It's all pointless. Right. My fault.
Can we please be seated?
Ask for apologies, it's not on the agenda, so I've written it on here.
Okay, where are we at on this one? Okay.
Starting with that one, please.
Yep. Okay, good evening and welcome again. Can we start with apologies? Councillor Dean?
Yes, apologies from Councillor Elgin.
Councillor Iqbal?
Apologies from Councillor Assembly, he's coming, he's just finished work now, so he's on his way.
Thank you. Any other apologies? All right, thank you. We'll now move on to declarations of interest. Members are reminded of the legal requirements concerning the declarations of interest. A member must declare a disposable pecuniary interest which he or she has in any item on the agenda. A member with a disposable pecuniary interest in any item may or may not participate in any discussion of the matter at the meeting and must not participate in the vote taken at that meeting. In addition, the Council standing orders require members with a disposable pecuniary interest to leave the room when the meeting is held while any discussion or voting takes place. Item 8. Membership of the Council.
Just for information.
Item 8 is just for information. Item 9. Appointment of leader and deputy leader of the Council.
Councillor Pearson.
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that.
Thank you, sir. Can we have a show of hands, please? Vote. Thank you. Can we have...
Mr. Mayor, can I move Councillor Mike Goldthorpe as Deputy Leader of the Council?
May I have a second there? Thank you. Sorry. Can we vote, please? A show of hands. Okay, thank you. It's carried. Item 10. Local Government and Housing Act 1989, Political Balance Rules. Whenever the allocation of seats on committees is reviewed, the Council is required to apply the statutory political balance rules. The rules apply to the Policies and Resources Committee, Licensing Committee, the Accounts and Audit Committee, Employment Appeals Committee and the Standards Hearing Committee. They do not apply to the area committees.
Mr. Mayor, there's a note in the pack, so people are aware of that, please.
Yeah, there is a note within your pack on this matter.
So Councillor Leader would like to move an amendment to that.
So, would the Council like to move an amendment on this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The amendment has been related in terms of the committee numbers. The changes which are being proposed are that the Policy and Resources Committee be a politically balanced committee of 9 members. Accounts and Audit Committee remains as it is at 5. The Licensing Committee reduced to 9 members. Employment Appeals Committee stays as it is. The Standards Hearing Committee stays as it is in terms of the numbers. The Taxi Licensing Committee subcommittee is reduced which is 7. The restructuring committee remains at 5, and as does the senior management appointments committee at 5. And the reason really for this is because there has been a significant reduction in the number of councillors. We previously had 49 councillors. It's a reduction of 16 councillors down to 33. And I think it's only fair in terms of the committees which are quite large numbers. For example, the policy and resource committee, if we left that at 13, you'd have over 1/3 of the councillors on that particular committee. So I think it's only reasonable that is reduced slightly, as is, like I said, the licensing committee, which was a large committee itself. So I'd like to move that amendment together with the area committees, which are, of course, are not politically balanced, but the area committees ought to be West Craven, Nelson, Brighfield and Greedler, Corn and District, and Barrowford and Western parishes. So there would be 4 area committees. I'll move the amendment.
Is there a second for this motion? Thank you. Councillor Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Clearly, this is going to be carried this evening. The Conservatives have a majority, and this proposal will be passed. Can I voice my concern that the reduction of the powerful Policy and Resources Committee to 9 members means that it will be possible for there to be a representative from each of the wards in Pendle on that committee. We now have 12 wards, 1 of 1 member, 1 of 2 members, but the remainder of 3 members. And with only 9 members of the Policy and Resources Committee, it is inevitable that several of those wards will not have representation at that meeting. I accept that the Conservatives have determined that this is what will happen. I'll probably vote against it because I do think it's a wrong thing for Pendle. And I'm not being political here. I just feel that it is an important matter of principle that each part of the borough has some representation at that meeting. As a matter of course, the people from each part of Pendle can put forward their views, speaking as a ward representative and participating and voting on issues, so that no part of Pendle is disadvantaged. I think it's a mistake. I would urge Conservatives to think again about this. As I said, I will not vote for it because it's a wrong thing for residents of our borough to exclude some areas from that participation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Iqbal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. My group will also be voting against the amendment because, quite the Councillor Whitworth outlined, the Conservatives have tried during this election campaign as leaders talking about democratic accountability. And what's the first thing that they do tonight? They take the act of democratic accountability. Because he's right, this Councillor Whitworth. On a Policy and Resources Committee of 9 members, in theory, there's 5 Conservatives on that. So a small core group of 5 people will decide on some major decisions, because what the people of Pendle need to realise is that some major planning applications come to that committee. There's no separate planning committee or government control committee as it used to be there. So therefore 9 people, or in effect 5 people, will dictate what goes on across the borough. That 5 doesn't even cover all of the Conservative group, or it doesn't even a third of the Conservative group. So I would urge Conservative members who have stood on a platform of democratic accountability to reject this and It is the Policy and Resources Committee that was proposed in the original place of work.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Okay. I do apologise. I do apologise, Councillor Lord. Unfortunately, it's the environment that we are in. Yeah, so thank you, Dorothy. So to help Dorothy and the people at the back, if you would raise your voice slightly, that would be much appreciated. Thank you. We're going to. Sorry, my apologies. Councillor Tom Whip.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Although I disagree with the reduction in the number of councillors, I did think this would be an opportunity for a greater proportion of the councillors on the council to be involved in its running. It's regrettable to see that the percentage of councillors getting involved in P&R and the individual committees is kept the same, when this was an excellent opportunity to increase involvement of councillors all across the borough in a more proportional way that can represent more people in Pendle. I think the Conservatives in this amendment are missing an opportunity here to increase that representation, increase that democratic control that is so important. And I do ask them to reconsider at least the Policy and Resources Committee for the reasons outlined by my point of order, but the others as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I call on Councillor Nadeem to reply?
Yes. I'll take the comments on board from Councillor Wick and Councillor Iqbal. But if you look at in terms of the percentage of councillors now representing on P&R, there is a higher percentage if you look at the number of councillors we have overall. And if you members will recall, people who have been on the council long enough, in terms of when we had the executive committee, we had fewer councillors in terms of the overall percentage of councillors. There used to be 49 councillors and had 11 members on the committee. So I think in terms of the numbers, I think it is reasonable and fair to have a reduction in them two committees, which I think are quite large as they stand.
Okay, can we move to the motion itself? All those in favour? That is 17-4. Against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Yeah. Just for your information, when voting, can you please raise your hands fully so so Jane can see them and have the numbers correct. Thank you. Item 12, appointment of chairman of committees. To appoint chairman of the following committees.
Mr. Mayor, the chairman are listed Item 12. In terms of the taxi licensing committee, can I move Councillor Neil McGowan to the chair of the taxi licensing committee? The rest of them as they are on the page.
Secondly, please. Thank you. Any speakers on this item? Okay, thank you. Move to the vote, please. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Accounts and Audit Committee. Sorry. Oh, you're there. My apologies. Appointments to the working groups. To consider the appointment of members to the following working groups for the municipal year 2021-22. The list is a reflection of the numbers currently on them. Councillor Iqbal. Sorry. My apologies. Councillor Nazim.
Can I move on the emergency work that the numbers be 7, 4, 2, 1, and on governance working group 5 members 3, 1, 1. I move this, Chair.
Councillor Purcell, second that, thank you. Councillor Iqbal, do you want to speak?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In terms of the climate emergency working group, what I urge the people is to reconsider that, because I think the climate emergency working group since it was set up has worked on a non-political basis and has worked quite well. And I think to bring politics into climate emergency on a local level is something that is a retrograde step. In terms of governance working group, clearly that will meet as and when, but I would urge Councillor Ahmed to reconsider the climate emergency working group, increase the numbers to have had some reflection of the council, but not make it a politically balanced working group, because it has worked well. And I think in the interest of Pendle going forward, the politics should be taken out of climate emergency.
Any other speakers? Councillor Ahmed, would you like to respond? Okay, can we go straight to the vote, those 4? Thank you. That's right. And those against? Okay, the motion is carried. Thank you. Item 14, the dates and times of council meetings 2021-22. Sorry.
Can I move dates and times of meetings as set out on the occasion?
Can I have a second for that? Sorry, Councillor Wick, sorry, my apologies.
Mr. Mayor,
Just one more, Mr. Wick, sorry, my apologies. Oh, my, thank you.
I'm happy to second, Mr. Mayor. In terms of the dates, we've got all the dates set out here. I'd like to comment about the venues, because in the circumstances that we have, we've already had the comment this evening about people not being able to hear what's going on. Obviously our council meetings in the future may or may not be held in these circumstances. Certainly it would be preferable if we could have the online virtual meetings that we've had previously, which for all their faults were probably far superior to the meeting that we got this evening. But I wonder if, such as the Muni could accommodate the full council meeting rather than this equity sports hall. And in terms of the other meetings of committees, following the resolution earlier on, I assume that the meetings will be small enough to fit in relatively small groups. But area committees may not be able to follow the past practice of their meeting venues. And I wonder what thought has been given to the places where we will be able to meet in COVID security, but still being accessible to people and still being able to meet with some semblance of normality rather than very strange circumstances that we find this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Any other speakers? Okay, thank you. Can we have a vote, please, for the dates? If you could raise your hands, then Jane can see them. Thank you. Thank you. The dates are correct. Item 15. Appointment of representatives on outside bodies. I have no name for it. No. Do apologise. Just give me yours for now.
So we're going to do it page by page, okay?
Okay. All right, okay, my apologies. This one, is this the right one?
Yeah, so can I help with this?
Yes.
So members, what we're going to do is go through that page by page, okay? So, Councillor President, allow me to remove his proposed changes and provide any amendments from recommendations that will be considered. So page one.
Page 1, Mr Mayor, can I start off by moving Airedale General Hospital Foundation Trust, Jennifer Purcell, Burnley District Society for the Blind, Donna Lockwood, Burnley and Pendle Citizens Advice Bureau. It says previously we've got 2 names, but it says 1 vacancy, so that will be Councillor Karen Howard. If there is a second vacancy, I'm not sure if there is, I'll move Councillor Mohammed Aslam if there is a second vacancy. Next one, Burnley, Pendle and Rosendale CDS Board, Councillor Aslam. Corn Business Improvement District bid, Councillor Sarah Corbin-Price. District Councils Network, that's myself. District Early Years Development and Childcare Forum, Councillor Donald Lockwood. Fair Trade Group, Councillor, the Conservative name will be Councillor Ash Sutcliffe. Forest of Bowland, Councillor Linda Crossley. Growth Lancashire Limited, myself. I'll move.
Councillor Iqbal.
Any more amendments to page 1? So we're moving on to page 2, Councillor Allen.
On joint venture company Pearl, there'll be myself and Councillor Sarah Corbin-Price from our group. Lancashire County Council Health Scrutiny Committee, Councillor Mohammed Adnan. Lancashire Leaders, myself. Lancashire Police and Crime Commission, Councillor Kieran McGladry. LCC Lancashire Waste Partnership, Councillor David Albin. LGA, that's myself. Nelson Town Deal Board, our group representative is Councillor Aslan. North Western Local Employers, myself. And Ruth.
Councillor Iqbal.
Any other amendments on page 2, Councillor Wick?
Okay, thank you.
Page 3.
Pendle Community Safety Partnership. Want to move Councillor Aslam, who's already there, and also move Councillor Ash Sutcliffe, 2 representatives from our group. Pendle Countryside Access Forum, Councillor Sarah Corbin-Price. Pendle Heritage Trust Board, I believe, does no longer require a representative from the council. Pendle Hill Landscape Partnership Board, Councillor Linda Crossley. Pendle Leisure Trust, replace Margaret Foxley with Councillor David Albee. Pendle Public Private Partnership, our representatives will be Councillor Mike Goldthorpe, Councillor David Corbin Price and myself. Pendle Twinning Association, Councillor Neil Butterworth. Pendle Vision Board, myself and Councillor David Corbin Price. I move.
So Councillor Iqbal and then...
Access Forum, Councillor Gasser as well from our group. In terms of the public-private partnership, myself, and in terms of Pendle Twinning Association, Councillor Ruby and Brown.
Councillor Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pendle Countryside Access Forum, Councillor Tom Hill. The Public-Private Partnership, what a title, myself. I'm just looking to see if there are any further changes. Chairman will be myself on the Pendle Community Safety Partnership.
Pendle Youth Orchestra, can I move Councillor Neil Butterworth in place of Margaret Foxley. The next one will be myself, in place Health Partnership, Councillor Mohammed Adnan. I move.
Councillor Iqbal.
Yeah, Councillor Youth Orchestra, Mr. Mayor, just to prepare because they want to use it to make the mayor go.
My apologies, Councillor Whip.
Mr. Mayor, Pendle Youth Orchestra, Councillor Dorothy Lord actually auditioned for the role at our virtual group meeting by giving us a rendition on the guitar. Councillor Tom Wick said, well, he played 4 instruments, but he was deferring to Dot for our nomination. So our nomination is Councillor Dorothy Lord.
Thank you. Just a quick one, may I ask Councillor Tom Whip, did you play it all before at the same time?
I could try, but it doesn't sound like a playing.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're going to move all the nominations at the same time.
Can I move nominations?
Opposed, and can I ask Councillor Mike Goldthorpe to second that, please?
Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, I second that one.
Can we go to the vote, please? All in favour? Thank you. Okay, items 15B, member champions. To consider the nominations for the following members champions. Councillor Dean.
Following Armed Forces, Mr. Mayor, yourself.
Thank you.
Dementia, Disability and Mental Health, Councillor Mohammed Aslam. Every Child Matters, Councillor Donna Lockwood. Older People, again yourself, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Neil Butterworth.
Thank you.
Young People, Councillor Mohammed Adnan. Health and Wellbeing Champion, Councillor Karen Howarth. I move.
Councillor Desailly. Thank you. Can we take a vote, please? All in favour? Thank you. Carried. Item 16.
Members may be aware, in terms of Fiona Greenway, who was our Chief Finance Officer, we appointed her on the 25th of March this year. Unfortunately, Fiona's had to resign, and for that reason, we need to appoint a Section 151 officer. And can I recommend to the Council that the Chief Executive is appointed as the statutory Section 15 officer of the Council? I move. Can I ask Councillor Mike Goldthorpe to second?
Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, I support that. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we vote on it, please? Show that. Okay, thank you. Item 17, notice of motion. Require a license to order nitrous oxide canisters to be moved by Councillor Emma Anif.
Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, we are strongly congratulating both of you on the appointments. Mr. Mayor and fellow councillors, over the past few months, we started writing litter picking. Every Saturday, we litter pick in different parts of our field. During this time, I've noticed a common problem when it comes to fly tipping. The fly tip tyres or settings, they grab the attention of social media. However, we seem to be picking up more and more used nitrous oxide canisters. Many areas in Pendle are covered with small canisters and balloons where people have been using them and leaving the rubbish. This is not only blind on our local environment, it is a highly dangerous drug that can have serious impact. Much to my surprise, these canisters can be purchased cheaply and quickly online, and this includes delivery direct to the doorstep. There is no age check or the reason for use. This is why I believe the government should begin legislation to require a license to order these canisters. We ask the government looks into introducing regulation and licensing for the purchase of these canisters. Mr. Mayor, I move the motion.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Zafari. Thank you very much. Are there any speakers on this matter? Councillor Dean.
I'm really pleased to see this motion by Councillor Hanif. There is an issue which has been raised to myself and I'm sure other colleagues across the Council. And there is an issue which is, like Councillor Hanif said, is in environmental blight, and yet also, I think more crucially for me, even more than that, is that it is very, very dangerous, and there have been reports and incidents of people getting seriously injured. So I'm more than happy to support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Though I do agree that it is an environmental blight, discarding of these canisters, I do not agree that it is a very dangerous drug. According to the Office of National Statistics, between 1993 and 2016, 30 people were killed from the use of nitrous oxide. In comparison to 2018, over 200 people sadly died from water drowning, the inhalation of water. Mr. Mayor, though I support it on principle for the environmental impacts that the throwing away these canisters has, and also the fact that this is a potent greenhouse gas, which I believe should not be used for its intended purposes either. For those who don't know, nitrous oxide is used in squirting cream. I think the text that refers to it as a dangerous drug are way overblown. I think any motions put to this council and voted on should be sensible and
Thank you. Does anyone else want to amend the motion? Okay. Can we go to the vote? I need to want to come back. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Go to the vote, please. All those in favour? Okay, thank you. Okay, we now go on to the human rights in Palestine. And may I please invite Councillor Iqbal?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors. As I was about to stand up to speak, I received a text message from somebody saying there are rogue armies arrived in Pendle and we're going to throw out your belongings, Mr. Mayor, as they seek to take control of your home and for everybody else. As a rabid matter, we started to bomb the road infrastructure in Pendle as well. The first thing that any one of us will do, Mr. Mayor, is ask our government and its allies to come to our aid and the rest of humanity to speak up against this land grab and atrocities against us. Mr. Mayor, I'm sure like me, you'll be absolutely outraged and despair at fellow human beings who may choose to keep quiet and say nothing to do with us or simply turn a blind eye. Well, colleagues, this is how the people of Palestine have been living for over 70 years. And this problem was created in our name by our government following the Second World War. Yet our government today is washing its hands of the problem created by us, and every single day the Palestinian people are suffering at the hands of the Israeli government and their inhumane policies. Let me be clear, Mr. Mayor, I'm not against the Jewish people. In fact, I salute those who have the guts to speak out and say to Benjamin Netanyahu and his inhumane government, not in our days have we persecuted the Palestinian people who actually gave shelter to the Jewish people when they had nowhere to go. And the Israeli government is now repaying this by what some would call ethnic cleansing the state. Mr. Mayor, I'm also ashamed as a born and bred Lancastrian that our very own Member of Parliament, Cameron Stevenson, has not today taken a public word, and nor has any high-ranking member of the government condemned the action of the Israeli army, who are killing innocent civilians on a daily basis. And we as elected councillors in Pendle must today stand up and be countered by saying that we show solidarity with the people of Palestine. Mr. Mayor, my motion is quite clear, and unlike some of the racists and fascists who have chosen to be their usual cowardly selves and hide behind the cloak of saying who they are when they ring me at 3 o'clock in the morning on my phone number and say I'm a terrorist sympathiser, the motion I'm actually presenting, Mr. Mayor, is in solidarity with the people of Palestine, which, for those racists and fascists who may watch this broadcast on YouTube, includes people of all faiths and none. An Israeli army bomb, Mr. Mayor, does not differentiate between Muslims, Christians, Jews, or people of no faith. So my message to those people trying to stir religious hatred is a simple one. I hope you will never in the daily life and death dilemma faced by the people of Palestine, because you will seek anyone's help to help you. It will be a sad day for humanity if, because of your racist and fascist attitude, nobody steps forward. Mr. Mayor, it's not simply not acceptable for our government, and in particular the Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary, to keep quiet on this issue. This moment in history requires our government to stand up, lead the world as we used to, and publicly condemn the Israeli government for their genocide in Palestine. Publicly tell the Israeli government and his government, publicly tell the Israeli Prime Minister and his government to immediately cease the land grab of Palestinians who have lived there for hundreds of years. It cannot be right for state-sponsored forced eviction of somebody's home, Mr. Mayor. If this was happening elsewhere, we, as councillors, we as British citizens, we as the British government, would call it genocide and demand the international war crimes tribunal people to intervene. Why, Mr. Mayor, I ask, are the lives of Palestinians so cheap and worthless? Have we become such a selfish, self-centered society, I ask? Clearly, the Israeli government is not prepared to listen to the voices of reason. And I put forward that our government, by the United Nations, seeks to implement tough sanctions against the Israeli government and ministers and those behind the attack on humanity in Gaza. Why is it the world rushes to demand immediate action against regimes who kill their own fellow human beings, but the world leaders led by our government turn a blind eye to Palestine? Finally, Mr. Mayor, I believe that other councils across the country are relating similar We are with you during your hours of need, and a message to the anti-human government of Israel: we will not be remembered in history standing by and letting you commit genocide in Palestine. I move the motion and ask for a name vote, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a second for this motion? Thank you. Are there any speakers on this? My apologies.
Firstly, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. And then they came for the socialists. I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. And then they came out for the trade unionists. I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews. I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. These are not my words, Mr. Mayor. These are the famous words of a German pastor at the time of the Holocaust. I start with these famous words, Mr. Mayor, because I feel that it is incumbent on us as a council, as a group, as a people, to speak out against injustice where it may be, whenever there may be, Mr. Mayor. What is taking place in Palestine is nothing short of a war crime, with innocent civilians paying for their lives. And we can't rely on others, Mr. Mayor, to speak out. Who is going to speak out, Mr. Mayor, for the father who lost 5 children? Who is going to speak out, Mr. Mayor, for the mother who's lost her children? Let's be honest, Mr. Mayor. What we say as a council is likely to be ignored by the government, like many other things which have been ignored. At least we can say that we were part of the people that spoke up against injustice, against the killing of innocent people. At least, Mr. Mayor, my constituents, the very people who put me here and sent me here, have their voices heard through me. This is an issue beyond party politics, Mr. Mayor. I wrote the leader of the Labour Party, criticising him over his silence, over the genocide, the war crimes that are taking place in Gaza. Our Prime Minister and our Board Minister there, our local MP, as our stakeholder has already said, has not done or said anything meaningful. And I would urge the leader of this council to use his influence over the local MP and ask him to speak out. It's not enough, Mr. Mayor, to share tweets or Facebook messages. Ask him to speak out, Mr. Mayor. And again, I say this on a non-party basis. And I'm saying that honestly. I'm not here to score cheap political points because, as I say, this is more important than party politics. I was the first one, Mr. Mayor. I was the first one to criticise the leader of the Labour Party, in fact, the leadership of the Labour Party. But when it comes to Mr. Palestine, Mr. Mayor, no one utters a word. Even after hundreds of innocent women and children are killed, well, I will speak up, Mr. Mayor, and I hope that the rest of you will and support this motion.
Are there any more speakers? Councillor Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have considerable sympathy for the views expressed by the mover and seconder of this bill. There is an imbalance of power between Israel and Palestine so great that the impact of Israeli action is out of all proportion to the impact of the Palestinian actions upon the state of Israel. However, Hamas are not innocent. Hamas and Fatah have a power struggle, and Hamas are using this situation in order to advance their interests. The title of this motion talks about human rights, and there is no doubt that human rights are being trampled upon, that human rights have been abused for generations. This evening, in this council chamber, we aren't in a position to solve the problems of the Middle East. It's an issue that is perhaps insoluble, and certainly the power brokers of this world are not anxious to see solutions, and the best that we can probably hope for is a ceasefire, as has happened several times in the past. But Mr. Mayor, my group cannot support the motion as written. It does not acknowledge that even with that imbalance, there are more than one side to this. And for any solution to be effective in the future, there has to be an acknowledgement from both sides, or all sides, that the solutions will be complex and multifaceted. So it's not right for us to pass a simplistic resolution that won't achieve the effect that we wish. It's not right for us to pay lip service, and if we weren't able to effect something, then yes, let us take action. I would more than happily campaign for justice for Palestinians. I don't think this is the right resolution to do that. Just one final point, Mr. Mayor. Here we are in Pendle, and we think that this is something that doesn't necessarily directly affect us here. But in front of where Councillor Sam Whittle is, we have a Rolls-Royce factory. Now that Rolls-Royce factory produces components for the Joint Strike Fighter. The Israeli Air Force has several squadrons of Joint Strike Fighters.
Councillor Whips, 1 minute, Councillor Whips.
I suspect, Mr. Mayor, that components manufactured here in Pendle are actually on the aircraft of the Israeli Air Force. So our hands in Pendle are not clean. Our hands...
The red light is on, Mr. Whip.
Our hands are as bloody by this conflict as anyone's, but it's not going to be simple, and this resolution is...
Thank you very much. Would you like to come, anyone like to come back? Any more speakers? Sorry. Councillor, do you?
This is a motion which I feel I have to speak on, Mr. Mayor, because I do feel strongly about it. despite whether the government speaks up or not. Not for the first time the issue of Palestine is being discussed, nor sadly do I genuinely believe it will be the last time. The way I look at this scenario is, if my family lived in Palestine and the suffering they're going through, if my loved ones, my children, my relatives lived there, and they had limited control of what they can and can't do during their daily lives, in terms of where they can go, their freedom is restricted, what food can come into that area that is restricted, what medication can come into that area is restricted, what help and access to the suffering people of Palestine is restricted. Even their voice is restricted. And sadly, unless a long-lasting two-state solution is implemented, we will sadly continue to see conflict and human suffering. The abuse of human rights in Palestine or anywhere else is totally unacceptable and unjustified. Innocent civilians are being killed and injured, which must stop immediately. The evictions of Palestinians from their homes have been condemned and must be condemned. As one of the speakers before me mentioned, how would we feel if somebody came into our homes or sent us a message and said, "You must leave in an hour or two"? Would we stand up or would we just walk away? If it was me, I would stand up and fight for my rights. That is what the Palestinian people are doing. The overwhelming and disproportionate use of force must also be condemned. Attacks have taken place on a place of worship, which again cannot be tolerated no matter which religious place of worship. But what made it worse in terms of the attack on the Al-Aqsa Mosque that happened during the holy month of Ramadan? The initial protests which started the whole thing escalated in East Jerusalem after Israeli authorities placed restrictions on Palestinians entering their holy site of Al-Aqsa Mosque. This, I believe, is a direct attack on the right of Palestinians to peacefully practice their religions. I'm not just talking about Islam, I think any religion, if people's right to religious freedom and expression is restricted, that must be condemned. The international community should and must take a strong approach and condemn the recent violence, but also take steps to protect those whose human rights are being violated on a daily basis. The UK government has made it absolutely clear that evictions of Palestinians from their homes causes suffering and has condemned these actions as they are a clear breach of international law and the 4th Geneva Convention.
1 minute, Councillor.
Accordingly, such actions must stop immediately. Every Palestinian has a right to live in peace, not to be forcibly and illegally evicted from their homes. Recently, Sir Alan Duncan, a former Minister of State, stated the beginning and end of every argument about Israel and Palestine is that it is all to do with land. The Israelis want to take land which does not belong to them, and the rights or wrongs stem from this fundamental fact. The international community, including the UK, have a legal and moral responsibility to act and prevent further bloodshed of innocent civilians. This is described as a conflict. This isn't a conflict. This is a one-sided attack. Shocking images of innocent children is heartbreaking. For this reason, I will support the motion, and I believe we must show solidarity with the people of Palestine.
Councillor Hitchell, would you like to listen to the last speaker on this item? Councillor Hitchell?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm grateful to those people who have spoken, especially to a very passionate speech by my colleague, Councillor Gasser. Let's just be clear, Mr. Mayor, and I would urge colleagues who have spoken there this morning. For example, ahead of a ceasefire being negotiated, Israel, the government, I'm just looking at the BBC, has promised the mother of all bombing tonight in Palestine. And one of the reasons that they're trying to justify that is that they're trying to, they said that they're trying to assassinate the head of Hamas's military wing. Well, for the last 10 days, they've assassinated 252 people, including a number of children. Is the Israeli government really trying to tell me and councillors in this chamber tonight that if they can't find one man in the whole of Gaza and West Bank, with one route in and one route out, that they're all over those people, are they really trying to tell me that they've sacrificed and assassinated over 250 people? And God knows how many more are going to die tonight if they're promising the mother of all at launch tonight, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I take on board what Councillor Whip said. I'm not here to defend Hamas, by no means, but if you look at the conflict or the bombings that are going on, it's one-way traffic at the moment. For every one rocket that Hamas fires, how does Israel respond? They respond with a bomb, Mr. Mayor. And you've already seen it on Facebook that if I throw a stone at you, Mr. Mayor, not that I would, what would your response be? You wouldn't certainly get a fighter jet from wherever in the country and come and bomb me for throwing that stone. That's the reality, that's what's going on the ground in terms of innocent people, Mr. Mayor. My emotion is simply standing up for those helpless fathers, mothers and children who have been sacrificed so far in this conflict. And, you know, I'll go to bed tonight, hoping to wake up in the morning. Those people are waking up in the morning, not knowing whether they'll see the light of the evening or the darkness that day. That's the thing that they're living under. And other people have spoken how difficult it is. None of us have been in that situation, nor would I want to be in that situation, as nobody else will in the world is there. But I think this is a duty upon us, and I would urge all members of this council to support this motion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a name vote, so when your name's called, for, against or abstain. Thank you.
So new councillors, this procedure requires you to indicate whether you are for the motion, so you say for. If you're against, say against. If you wish to abstain, say abstain. So I'll go through the names in alphabetical order, and if you indicate how you wish to vote on the motion. It's then recorded by colleagues over here, and then they will read out the results at the end of that. So, Councillor Adams. Councillor Marjorie Adams.
Against.
Mohammed Adnan. And if you could shout out clearly whether you're for or against, if you could raise your voice, please give him the vote. Councillor Ahmad.
For.
Councillor Ahmed.
For.
Councillor Allen.
For.
Councillor Ansar.
For.
Councillor Anwar.
For.
Councillor Ashram.
For.
Councillor Aslam.
For.
Councillor Button.
Abstain.
Councillor Carroll.
Abstain.
Councillor David Coburn-Price.
Abstain.
Councillor Sarah.
Abstain.
Councillor Crossley.
Abstain.
Councillor Goulthorpe.
Abstain.
Councillor Harrison. For. Councillor Harry.
For.
Councillor Howard.
Abstain.
Councillor Mohammed Ikram.
For.
Councillor Yasser Ikram.
For.
Councillor Lockwood. Councillor Leontin.
Abstain.
Councillor Lord.
Abstain.
Councillor McLadden.
For.
Councillor McGowan.
Abstain.
Councillor Mahmood. Councillor Newman. Councillor Purcell.
Abstain.
Councillor Saki.
For.
Councillor Sutcliffe. Councillor Wynne David.
Abstain.
Councillor Wynne Tom.
Abstain.
Okay. For this amendment, 14. Against, 1. Abstains, 16. The motion is carried. And the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Before we go on to the next item, I just want to advise all councillors that in my chambers, the green light means speak, and the amber means you've got 1 minute. Red light means finish your conversation. I suggest that if you're going to do a speech, practice, get what you want to say within the 5 minutes, because I don't want to stop anybody speaking. But the red light will be adhered to in my meetings. Thank you. We now move on to Lancashire Wildlife Trust Seasonal Survey of Gibb Hill. This is going to be moved by Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As per the councillors, also like to congratulate myself on getting your new roles. This evening I'm looking for council support for the further protection of the Gibb Hill area for development. The Lancashire Wildlife Trust has offered to do 3 ecology reports spanning 3 consecutive seasons of this area. The Lancashire Wildlife Trust is a very well respected business in this area and offers to do the reports free of charge. Whilst Gibb Hill already has a portion of land there's already a biological heritage site, having these reports we can further understand the ecological value of this underfield land. By reviewing these documents, I feel as a group we can make a better informed decision on the future of this piece of land.
Thank you, Councillor. Do you have a second?
I second the motion, Mr. Mayor, and I agree with Councillor Darren Harrison what he said, and I agree we should accept the very kind offer as it's free to provide the council with a very valuable resource.
Any speakers on this matter? Councillor Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My group will be supporting this motion. I don't fully understand why it wasn't agreed to previously, but so be it. I'll please.
Thank you, Councillor. Any more speakers on this matter? Councillor Zing.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Can I first of all congratulate the new councillors, Councillor Harrison and Councillor Howard, for speaking on this important issue. This was an issue which was raised over the last couple of months, particularly by members of the public from not only from Corn, across Nelson and Pendle. And I totally agree that we should accept this kind offer from the Lancashire Wildlife Trust. It won't cost the council anything to have this survey carried out, and by this survey being carried out, it will give us a better understanding and a clearer understanding of the ecological nature of this site. I do genuinely believe it's better than having one survey being carried out. It is better to have these seasonal surveys, which gives a clear picture. The LWT are experienced in ecology and nature conservation. So I think for this particular site, which comes up time and time again, I think it's time that we showed commitment and leadership on this particular issue and got behind and protect this particular site. And this is a step forward in the right direction. And I believe that this issue needs to be dealt with, and I'm hoping that there is unanimous support across the council chamber. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers on this matter? Can we go to the vote? All those in favour? It seems unanimous, thank you. There is an additional emergency motion being tendered, moved by Councillor Whip. It's being passed around as we speak. Please bear with us.
We heard this afternoon that surge testing was to begin in Pendle because of the B1617.2 variant, known as the Indian variant. With surge testing, we really do need surge vaccinations as well. And yet, here in Pendle, we find that we've got no mass vaccination centre. And since the primary care networks, the groups of GP practices that have given vaccinations at Colne Health Centre and Nelson Darmstadt, since they wound down from priority groups 1 to 9, we haven't had a generally available vaccination process in the borough. And people have had to go to Burnley, if they're lucky, to Blackburn, or even further. This was brought home to me by somebody who had to travel to Pendle Bridge, that cosmopolitan part of the Yorkshire Dales, in order to get a vaccination. So here we have considerable, well, since forever, but since last summer. And at the same time, our rate of vaccination is not as good as other parts of the country and other parts of Lancashire. So regularly available vaccinations play a huge part in ensuring that that first line of defence against the COVID-19 virus are in place here in Pendle. Despite the representations that have been made in recent months to establish a mass vaccination centre or centres in Pendle, we're still struggling to get the health authorities to agree to that. I understand that yesterday and today there has been some movement with pop-up vaccination facilities being agreed and hopefully put in place within the very near future. But this resolution calls for the health authorities to provide accessible vaccinations for Pendle residents as a matter of extreme urgency. It's critical that those vaccinations are available, accessible to people, whether or not they've got transport or not, without travelling into areas at higher risk of infection, and for them to be done as close to home as possible so as to reduce onward transmission. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for taking this as an emergency motion. I think that as a council we need to speak with one voice, we need to be very clear, we need to be uncompromising in our request that the people of Pendle get equivalent access to vaccinations as those in other parts of the country and those just down the road from us. So, Mr. Mayor, I move.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder for this motion? Tom Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second the motion. Vaccinations are a vital thing, and there are many people who rely on public transport or taxis to get out of the borough and to go and get vaccinated. And that is not ideal. society, there are many people out there still worried with the virus, and that kind of long travel outside of their homes into areas outside of the borough can be a very worrying thing for those people. It is vital that we get centres in the heart of our communities that again are accessible for everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Are there any other speakers on this matter? Sorry. Councillor Army, sorry.
The residents of Pendle have suffered
disproportionately since the pandemic. I've got no issues with this motion before us, happy to support it, and also agree in terms of vaccination process, which is absolutely crucial. And we need to get the message out there as well, that when people do have the opportunity to get vaccinated, that they do take that up. And one of the issues might be accessibility, which has been raised by Councillor Wins. If people have to travel outside of the area, or they don't have transport, that might be one of the reasons why they're not getting vaccinated, and not taking the opportunity up. So I think I agree it is crucial that the accessibility issue is addressed as a matter of urgency. Happy to support.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone want to speak? Did you want to speak? I'll be back in 1 minute. Thank you.
I can understand where David's coming from, because I can speak on a personal view on this one. My first vaccination was in London. Now they're telling me I have to go to Bradford if I want to have my second vaccination. And I believe that's happening with several hundred people from Nelson alone that are all gone to Blackburn for the first vaccinations. Now they're trying to ship them all over to Bradford. And personally, myself, I will not be going to accept the vaccination in Bradford. I don't feel safe going so far, and I think it is totally and absolutely inappropriate to expect us to do so. That's all I'd like to say on that.
Thank you very much. Councillor.
Yeah, just very quickly, Mr. Mayor, I will be supporting the motion. Councillor Whitman and I have argued along with the Chief Executive over a number of them as to why Pendle was being left out in terms of vaccinations, because, as somebody said, we disproportionately suffered in terms of what's going on over the last 12 months. I mean, I went for my first job this morning to Birmingham Hospital, and even though I had an appointment at 10 o'clock, I was queuing for 19 minutes to get in. And the vast majority of people that were there were people from Pendle. So I think it's vital that there's something that's arranged for the people in Pendle, because there are elderly people there who, for whatever reason, haven't had their first job, that were there, along with people like myself. But it's crucial that all authorities that can make decisions and have those facilities in Pendle as a matter of urgency.
Thank you very much. Councillor.
I also congratulate you on your new role. Just a final point on the same motion. I think there should be more publicity around walk-ins around the vaccination. A lot of vaccination centres do walk-in options, and they just sort of stuck up on the day or for whatever reason. I found myself that I went for my own first vaccination. So there were people queuing because they understood that there was an open, a walk-in open option. However, once they reach the door, they were turned away. So I think the conversation also needs to happen with the health authorities who are offering walking options on the day. For whatever reason, I'm sure it's because people have either cancelled appointments and don't want the jabs to go to waste, for example. So I think it's also important that that conversation happens too, but I'm happy to support it.
Okay, thank you. Any more speakers? I would just like to add, at this moment in time, on my list of looking after the elderly, there is 27 people, mostly rugby old ladies, bless them, and most of them haven't had their vaccinations and are struggling to get anywhere, let alone Bradford or whatever. So I support this motion wholeheartedly, and we must really get this sorted out as soon as possible. Thank you very much. We move to the motion. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you very much. Ready? Unfortunately, that is it. Thank you very much. I'm not nervous anymore. Keep safe. and look after the old people. Thank you.
Please be upstanding for His Worship the Mayor of Pendle, Councillor Neil Butterworth.
Mike?